This is what was happening with number 4. The rod, I don't know, man, somewhere on the freeway, I'm not sure, just got obliterated. What's up, homies? Another good day today. So like I said, today I want to do the block inspection video. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the block. All right, I gotta set my mess here, and then I got all this stuff right here. So let me just take a look at the block, the bare block, and then we'll move to the pistons, the rods, what my plans are, and then the crankshaft. So for this, you're gonna want to get yourself an inspection light. So obviously the most common things, you know, obviously it's the D16y8. Pretty sure I've disclosed that already. You guys would have seen. You got the crankshaft fluctuation sensor there. You got all these hoses here and stuff. Right here by the rear main seal, everything seems to be good, right? I don't have any problem putting those bolts on. And then alternator stuff. Everything seems to be looking in proper order. I think where the carnage happened is inside, like I've mentioned. So if I look around the coolant jackets, right here, you should be seeing nothing abnormal in there. Like I said, I'm not seeing any weird crap here. I would expect to see a little more coolant, but I guess, you know, previous owner, he dried it out and stuff, drained it all out. So far around this coolant jacket, just some gunk and stuff, but that'll come out at the machine shop if this is even worth machining. And down these oil ports, again, just a bunch of gunked up crap, you know, lack of oil changes, I would assume. And yeah. And the actual bolt holes, the 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those all came out fine. So I see no problem with those. I wouldn't suspect any problems with the threads and stuff. Obviously, just blow them out real quick before I install the new head studs, or most likely ARP head studs, which is what I'm probably going to be installing on those. So far the water jackets, the oil ports that go all the way down, and then the thread inserts for the head studs, everything was good there. Now, the actual cylinder sleeves, that might be a problem. So let's go ahead and inspect those real quick. I know for sure one of them is screwed, which if you guys have been keeping up, it's gonna be cylinder number 4. That's where the rod flew out. And then I think number 2 might be a problem. Let's take a look. So this would be cylinder number 1. And just by a brief look, everything looks pretty good. Just some dirty oil and other contaminants around. I'm not seeing any crazy scratching, scoring, pitting, any of that stuff. And if I stick my hand down there, it's a little rough, but you know, lack of oil, but I'm not feeling anything crazy, you get me? So everything seems to be good. I'll also turn the block, but I'll do that after we inspect the top part here. If I look at the next one, this would be cylinder number 2. A little bit of burning right there at the top. Some marks around the top there. Again, nothing crazy from what I can see right now. But, you know, again, I always feel smooth. It has some oil. This feels good, right? So that should be no problem. Number 3, right off the bat. That's not good. Throw the inspection light on there. Look at that. That's bad. And we can compare the conditions of these cylinder walls with the actual pistons. See if we see any comparable results or damage. Right, so that's bad right there. That's definitely some scoring around the wall. Again, to the feel the touch, I have a glove on. I can still feel it, so that's even bad. But it might not look, well, it looks bad, but it might not feel like anything bad. Obviously, I'm the one feeling it here. You guys can't feel it, but when it comes to actual clearances and all that stuff, piston to wall clearance, that's gonna be a problem. So that's bad. And then number 4, to the eye, it doesn't look that bad. I probably see like a little bit of pitting right there. But if we flash the light, again, like I said, nothing too crazy other than maybe those little pittings right there that I see right there. Those 4 little nicks right there. But the real problem is at the bottom there, all at the bottom. So that's gonna be the problem in cylinder number 4 here. Like I said, here, I just feel these little pits right here, little nicks. But other than that, around the wall, feels pretty good. So now let me rotate this over, and that way we can take a look at it from the bottom side, from the bottom up. Bro, it's getting hot, but the fact that I'm actually sweating already, it's like 78 right now, it's not even that hot. So the block has been rotated over. So now, if we take a look at, you know, again, cylinder number 1 here. Before I actually inspect any of the cylinders, I'm gonna inspect these saddles here where the crankshaft rests right here. Most of these here, I shouldn't be seeing any type of damage. Actually, you know, it's a little too bright with the light. I'll just do it like this. Shouldn't be seeing any damage on these. This is where the actual main bearings go. I would consider this the bottom main bearing, right? The lower main bearing. And then the upper one would be the one that goes on the actual girdle, right? So Looking at these here, everything seems to be looking in good order here. I'm not seeing anything, maybe just some staining there, some burn marks from possibly, you know, the bearing. But I'm not seeing anything, feeling anything that's bad. So far so good. And these little indentations here, the Honda Matic calls them projections if I'm not mistaken. Those look to be intact, so those aren't an issue. Those are good. That's actually where the actual, these main cap bearings here, that's where they get held on. And also the part of the girdle, I believe it has some too. So we'll take a look at it though too as well. So everything was good here. Now around the actual block inside, again, it's just dirty. Looks like that's like a little nick there, if anything. Everything looks good here. Again, just filth, man, just stained, liking oil changes. We'll get to this right here in a bit. But again, the bottom of this cylinder bore here, again, it looks good. It doesn't look like anything went wrong. So everything looks good here at the bottom. Solid. Get that flashlight. Again, everything's looking in tippity top order. So looks good there. Here as well, wouldn't expect anything to be bad. Everything's looking good. This one here is where it had that scoring at the top, and it seems like it continued to the bottom, so you can tell that the piston was sliding it all the way down. Whatever happened, it was sliding whatever contaminants or lack of oil or something happened, but it dragged all those marks all the way down from the top. So we see that they're prevalent all the way to the bottom, so that's not good. And if anything, I should be able to, oh yeah, I feel it right here, it's rough. Yeah, it feels like almost like sandpaper almost. So that's bad. And our fourth one here, like I said at the top, it was just like the little painting that I saw. The most noticeable thing here is that there's a big old crack right here. I can feel that, no question, right here. And piece of this block got ripped off. It just flew out. Literally just flew out, boom, exploded out. So I think this is going to be a problem here, because the piston travels up and down the actual bore, and if this is not able to be, I mean, the crack extended all the way out, obviously you can't grind out all the way down to there. I mean, that's easily maybe like 1/4 of an inch, which is way too far to grind something down. I mean, it's 1/4 of an inch here, almost like 1/4 of an inch here. So I mean, you're basically cutting out the whole sleeve out, which at that point just recycle this damn block, right? So what I'm kind of contemplating here, or kind of conflicted, is I'm not sure if they're able to grind out enough and file it down to the point where the piston can safely travel up and down without scratching itself and scoring on that, you know, the bottom of that cylinder bore. So like I said, because the broken piece extends about 1/4 of an inch on both sides, right, of the block. So you can't possibly just cut the whole thing out, the whole bore, and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's fine. I mean, you're basically going to be entering already into cylinder number 3 already. I'm just curious as to how much can be machined out from there. I'm thinking maybe 1/1000th of an inch, 2/1000th of an inch. That's pretty standard. But like I'm telling you, 1/1000th or 2/1000th of an inch won't necessarily clear that broken piece out. I mean, that broken piece is still going to be there. So I'm not sure if maybe they can round it out, you know, give it like a little ridge or something. I'm not a machinist myself, so I'm not sure how much can be taken out to make it still safe for the piston to travel up and down. Now, if the whole block is not salvable or salvageable just because of that piece, then I think you guys know what I would have to do. Buy another block, another Y8, a Z6, I'm not sure, you know, so maybe a reason for the Z6 block, I'm not sure. Again, this kind of leads me to our next point too. If you guys have a build D series build, or you guys have knowledge of friends or whoever, I'm still trying to configure what's the best setup. If it's either sticking D series, all right, if it's going to be a Y8 head with a Z6 block, or just a Z6 full long block, or a Z6 head with a Y8 block, I'm not sure. I keep hearing things about, you know, the Y8 throwing bearings and all that stuff. I'm not even sure if maybe the tuning is not right, or the clearances are set right, or they're using OEM bearings. There's a bunch of factors that contribute as to why motors might, you know, might just take a crap for, you know, per se. You know, how much you're racing it, the conditions, the amount of oil you're throwing, all that good stuff. Tuning is probably one of the biggest ones, and clearances clearly are another big one. So, but anyway, so went off a little on tangent there, but I might have to get a new block, you know, at the end of the day. So we'll have to see. Cylinder number 1. Okay, so the piston, right, and the rod. So you got the piston here, right, the whole thing. You got the recess for the valves here. You got the crown of the piston. This is where the valves go in. You got your skirt right here, which is 90 degrees away from the wrist pin. There's a wrist pin in there. You got your rings right here. Two top ones are compression rings, and then that little kind of looks like, kind of reminds me of something when I was like small as a little kid. I can't think of what exactly. It looks like a coffee filter. I don't know why I think of it as a coffee filter, but it's an expander. That one, right? That one's an expander, and then on top of the expander and the bottom of the expander, it has actual the oil control rings. So that's what you see there at the bottom and the top of the expander. They're oil control rings. So that's what that's going to be. And then you have the rod here, and then you have the rod cap, right? And the bearings, I haven't put away in a Ziploc bag, but your rod bearings, one of them goes here, the other one goes on the bottom here. Little projections there, right? That's where the bearings kind of lock on. So you got one there and the other one right there. And then you have your actual bolt here for the rod caps, right? You can change these two to ARP head studs, which is probably what I'm going to be doing. So probably going to be putting ARP head studs here. Or rod caps here. Or ARP rod bolts here and on the actual head as well. Anyways, taking a look at this piston and rod. This one doesn't look too bad. The actual skirt here, looks pretty clean. It looks pretty clean here. The wrist pin is a little, it's a little loose. Shouldn't be doing that really. Everything else looks good here. Now, just to bring you guys a note to mind, this is one of the reasons why these motors break is because of this rod. The rod is probably the skinniest part out of the whole engine in a D16. For most Honda engines, for that matter, it's probably the skinniest part. So when you're pushing so much power, and this thing is just going up and down, and there's too much torque and stuff, too much bing, bang, boom going through the combustion chamber, this thing, all the tensile strength and the force and torque, this just crushes this thing and just bends it out. So this thing either just breaks into pieces, or depending on what way it's rotating on the cycle of the combustion chamber, it'll go out on either side of the block or down into the oil pan, which is what happened in the engine that I got in that case. So number one, looks pretty good, I'd say. Definitely needs replacing though. Okay, here are the bearings here, the rod bearings. This one was the upper one, the one on top right here, and this one was the lower one, the one that goes down here. Doesn't even matter because I'm going to be changing these. So if I was just taking it out for a refresh or whatever, and I was going to put the same bearings, then yeah, it would matter, but it doesn't even matter. So yeah, these bearings look cooked. They look fried right here. So that's not good. That's bad. And if you look at the actual rod on the inside, oh, well, no, sorry, you're not going to see it here. You're going to see it on the crankshaft. So we can compare some to number one, the rod journal. You'll see some of this crap right here, some of the stuff that was going bad. You would see remnants of this and results on the actual rod journal. So not inside that, because remember, here, this is where the actual shells are right here. So you don't see any damage on the outside. At least you shouldn't, at least, unless some contaminants got through the oil porthole and started scratching and binding on the outside of this thing right here. But yeah, usually you're going to see the damage in between the inside of the bearing and then the outside of the actual rod journal or the main journal. So, but yeah, piston number one, good. Number two. So number two, same thing. I'm not seeing anything crazy. Around the skirt, wrist pin is still there. Again, floppy like crazy. And the rings, again, all of them are there. 2 compression rings, expander, 2 oil control rings there. Again, like I said, like I mentioned in the other videos, I think something was burning on here. Looks like Cheez-Its and stuff. And the rod is still good, I guess. And then the end caps, the rod caps right here, it's good. Some burning of the oil there, so that's good. Then bearings, these were not as bad as I would say as those are, but they're still bad. Projections are kind of still there. Number three. So number three here, kind of like how it's not wobbling. I'm not sure that's a bad thing. I'm pretty sure when you put the wrist pin, it's supposed to stay solid. It's not supposed to be slapping around like how these two are. But anyways, yeah, that's bad. So look at this side skirt here. That's trash. Same thing on this side. Hope you guys remember what we saw within the cylinder block. Remember cylinder number 3, the actual walls, they look scratched up and scored. Well, there you go, the piston right here. Results, comparable results. So looking back at it, right, the skirt here, it's all scratched up. This is beyond gone. It's ripped. It's all scratched up, scored. But as far as the rings are still here. Expander, oil control rings, you know, I guess not too bad up here. Top of the combustion chamber. And then the rod cap still there. Everything's still good. So the rod is still there. Everything's still good on this one, except for those side skirts. The side skirts on that are shot, gone. And these bearings, I would say that they're not the best. They look a little below decent, just other than this kind of contaminants here and burning marks. Looks way better than this, I'll tell you that for sure. Look at that. So I think the ones for number 3 we're doing, damn bro, we're doing all right. But then again, that's number 3 there. And number 4 is my favorite. Forgot a piece. So number 4, this is what was happening with number 4. So the piston, not looking too great. Side of the side skirt is gone. Other side is gone too. Just got obliterated. Oh look, had the same scoring right here. That's probably what's gonna happen to number 3 if it kept going. Top of the piston, I mean, actually looks pretty good. And the combustion chamber and everything, the rings and everything are still there. The ring lens, everything seems to still be intact and stuff. Wrist pin still there. The rod is, I don't know, man, somewhere on the freeway. I'm not sure. Pretty sure it's on somewhere on the side of the 14, because that's where I picked up the motor. Picked it up in Lancaster, so the homie probably still has part of the rod over there somewhere on the freeway. So yeah, the rod is gone. Like I said, the rod is the skinniest part of the whole bottom end of these Honda engines. So it's common that the rod goes out, either giving you a spun bearing or, well, that's for oil reasons and other stuff. But the rod is probably just the weakest integrity part of the whole thing. So I'm not surprised that the rod is not even on this piston for now.